Hello, Craig Houston here. If you've been watching a few of my 10-minute moan podcasts, please forgive me, I've got the same t-shirt on. I've not been wearing it for a few days. I've just recorded 2 episodes back to back and I might put them out on different days. So please forgive me if you think I'm a wee bit of a smelly do. Anyway, what I would like to talk about today that quite frankly annoys me is protesters. Protesting, but for those of you who have known me from 10 years ago, a small number of you will probably be aware that I'd done a bit of protesting myself a decade ago to relevant level of success. So I'm not per se anti-protest, far from it. I believe we live in a democratic country that gives us a lot of freedoms, and one of them being free speech and the right to protest, the right to take to the streets, as it were. As long as it's done in a proper manner, I really have no concerns about the safety and security. However, some of the reasonings behind some people's protests leave me a bit perturbed, to say the least. And you see me, I've had a good 6 to 12 months now where almost daily on our streets we have these oil protesters, you know, the high-vis orange jacket mob that can't obviously do a day's work because they're never off the streets, predominantly in London, walking slowly or stopping just to annoy traffic in their wisdom, where they want to tell us all that oil's a bad thing. It's going to kill us. Temperature of the world's increasing. The temperature of the world may or may not be increasing, but I can bet my bottom dollar that the temperature, the average temperature just now, is probably nowhere near the highest it's ever been in the history of the Earth, because the Earth's been about for billions of years and it's seen great fluctuations in temperature. So much so that we've seen ice ages and near destruction of inhabitants, not the world. The Earth, nature's quite a clever thing and it seems to adapt. And these people go on about the CO2s, and I think you're aware that, or I hope you're aware that, the CO2 level in the atmosphere, if it wasn't above a certain amount, the atmosphere couldn't contain life. But we have to bring it down and stop using oil. Apparently the world will be a far better place, and I don't think the world, the Earth, is in danger of expiring soon. Potentially, you know, us as people might, but if the time of the length of the Earth was measured as a mile, their time on it's probably inches. So I don't know how we think we're so great and high and mighty that. Anyway, I digress. The protests. So these oil people, their thing is pollution, and oil creates that, and one of the biggest problems is the motor car, vans, buses, etc. that are the internal combustion engine and ruin the planet. Terrible things apparently. And they want us to stop using oil. And what they do is they try and stop traffic, which is great, because I think even the most basic knowledge of how things work will agree that an idling car, van or bus produces far higher levels of emissions than ones that are able to drive where they want to go. And Glasgow has one of these LEZ, low emission zone things now, and I think they're spreading across several other major cities. But London, I think, had one first, and congestion charges and all these things to try and keep cars off the road, and I dare say there've been a fair bit of success reducing traffic and pollution and things, and if that's your aim. But they decide to do it in London, which is a bit bizarre to me, because if these LEZ in London are successful at all, they don't need to worry about the pollution in London. It's under control, it's heading south. But anyway, that's what they do. So to sort of recap with them, they don't like the pollution caused by oil. And to highlight that, use a few methods, but one of the biggest methods is, well, stop traffic. Clever, yeah. Clever. And the other thing they do to try and get the public on side is they go to large sporting events. Yeah. Try and disrupt them to try and get the people that are at these sporting events to side with them. bit futile, that, is it not? Turn up at the snooker and throw orange powder across the snooker table so the people in the auditorium and the thousands or hundreds of thousands or millions, I don't know what sort of levels of support snooker gets these days, but, you know, we'll highlight it to them by ruining their afternoon. That'll get them on board. And the other ones, there was one just recently, one load of campaigners that decided that they weren't happy with Sainsbury's, and their process was to highlight that the pricing of food at Sainsbury's was rather dear. I think Sainsbury's has always been rather dear, a bit dearer than some of the supermarkets, but, you know, we live in a free market society. If you don't want to shop there because they're too dear, I suppose Lidl's or probably Asda and these things on some occasions are cheaper. But this crowd in Glasgow, I think it was just last week, took it upon themselves. They've decided that the food in there is beyond the reach of the normal working man. I don't know any of them know working people right enough, but they've decided that the prices in Sainsbury's are too high, and the reason they give for it is the CEO gets quite a lot of money, and that's why nobody can afford their beans. Bizarre, but, you know, I'm sure that he's not the only CEO in any large corporation that's getting paid oodles of money, but they've decided the guy at Sainsbury's is fair game, and to help reduce the cost of the items at Sainsbury's, they decided to go to the one in Glasgow and throw paint all over it. Quite a lot of paint, actually. Couldn't see inside the shop, there was so much paint in the window. And it's quite a bizarre thing. If you want to bring the prices down in a supermarket, it's cause destruction that will cost that business money to rectify your destruction and vandalism. So the next time I go into Sainsbury's and pick up a tin of beans and find out I can't afford them, I probably won't blame the CEO of the company, who's probably getting paid quite a few quid more than me, but I'll contemplate it's possibly people that vandalise the shop to tell me or highlight to me that Sainsbury's is not the cheapest supermarket, which I've known since the first time I went into Sainsbury's, that Sainsbury's isn't the cheapest supermarket. But I know now recently. So these protesters, yeah. And the other ones, it's becoming a sort of status symbol or a fashion symbol. Protesting, I believe, in the hip thing to do is to take to the streets. And obviously there's a lot of terrible things going on in the Middle East just now. The war between Israel and Hamas in the Gaza Strip, and it is horrific. People dying on both sides. Children shouldn't be dying in wars in 2023. It's quite incredible, but I'm not here to discuss the finer details of that. But the UK and the west of Western Europe and most of the rest of the actual world are almost daily having protests about a ceasefire in Gaza. And I need to ask some of the more well-known social media commentators. I've been going to these protests and stopping some of the protesters and asking them their feelings on some of the intricate details of politics in the Middle East. And they don't have a clue. They actually are standing in massive mobs and don't really know what's going on. So if you are going to protest, then I've protested before. I've protested for quite a long time and quite a number of occasions when I felt I was justified. But make sure that one, what you're doing is justified. Two, you know what you're doing. That would be quite helpful if you're going to go and protest. You actually know why you're protesting and what you want to achieve. And three, don't be stupid and do something that's actually going to make the thing that you're moaning about worse, like pollution or the cost of beans at Sainsbury's. So, and if you don't like my podcasts, have a protest. See you all soon.